Apologies for the slight delay, technical difficulty, and thank you very much for lending out a USB-C connector. As popular as it is today, it's really hard to find. I got this from a store online. I like the color of it, but it just doesn't work for me. Before Kawaharada-san starts, he represents Yahoo Japan. And I'm from Creation Line. My name is Ippei Suzuki. The two of us are going to present, and the structure is going to be where he is going to speak Japanese, the original presentation, and I'm going to follow up slide by slide in Japanese. Typically, that takes twice the amount of time. With the limited time we have and the delay that we have, we're probably going to rush quite a bit. But we'll try to make sure that we cover the essence of the presentation, which is a fairly scaled implementation of Chef that Yahoo Japan has been building and managing for over 53,000 servers today. So, brief introduction.
My name is Kenta Kawaharada from Yahoo Japan.
And my name is Ippei Suzuki from Creation Line. We shall start from slide 1 then.
Okay. 本日日本からやってまいりました。日本はこの矢印の位置でございます。これがセッションが終わったらすぐに東京に帰らなければならないので少し焦っております。しっかりとお伝えできればいいと思っておりますのでよろしくお願いします。
We have come from Japan, and a typical map as we see, Japan is always positioned on the right end, despite the fact that it's often called the Far East. He actually has to catch a flight on the way back to Tokyo this afternoon. That will also give him a little bit of a pressure to rush, but again, we'll make sure that he covers the important part of the presentation.
せっかくなので日本について少しご紹介いたします。忍者とか東京タワー、富士山、寿司で有名な国が日本です。日本の料理はきれいで美味しいです。シカゴの料理も美味しいんですけれども、僕は日本の料理の見た目がすごく好きです。
Well, Japan is known as an exotic destination, but relatively unknown as it's very geographically remote from many countries. Most known for ninjas and a very colorful image of that you see in pictures. The food is great and the culture is very important by means of presentation.
そんな国でお仕事をさせていただいている Yahoo Japan でございますが、実際僕たちエンジニアがどんなオフィスで働いているのか少し写真を持ってきたのでご紹介します。これは Yahoo Japan のエントランスです。
Well, Yahoo Japan delivers services in this kind of colorful country. And we have brought over a couple of pictures to our working environment. And this is the entrance lobby that greets about approximately 10,000 people a month, 10,000 visitors a month.
でこれが僕たちが働いているオフィスの執務室です。椅子がいろいろあって好きな椅子に座って仕事をすることができます。
This is a typical working space that Yahoo Japan has in a high-rise building. It's an open environment and people can choose any chair. As you can see, there are some ergonomical design chairs. Some are good and some are typically ones that people really don't want to use. It just really depends.
続いて、これはセミナールームで300人ぐらい人が入る部屋になっております。
This is one of their seminar rooms, and this one in particular holds 300 people. There are a lot of events that actually Yahoo Japan holds, hackathons, meetups, many of them focus on open source.
一角にはこういう人工芝のスペースもあって、ここでミーティングをしたりとか仕事をすることもできます。
And of course, an office is not complete with a beanbag chair. And some people just can't get their job done without it, so we have a room specifically designed for them.
そんな Yahoo Japan のサービスなんですけれども、1ヶ月に725億ページビュー、1日あたり9100万ユニークブラウザーのサービスを提供しております。で、こんな Yahoo Japan の提供しているサービスって結構多いんです。
In short, Yahoo Japan is, as the name shows, it's an internet service company. And there were days when this service was called a portal site. That goes way in history. But since the business has gone a very long way, today this company entertains 72.5 billion page views per month, and which translates into about 91 million unique browser accesses in a day.
例えばニュースサービスっていうのがあります。これは地震が起きるとアクセスが急増するようなサービスです。
And we're going to introduce a couple of slides that introduce some of the services that they offer. One is the news service. Japan lies on a seismic active place, and when an earthquake happens, there's a lot of attention in the news, and that's where a very sharp spike happens for their news service.
他に、天気サービスっていうのもあります。これは台風が来るときに非常にアクセスが増えます。
And Japan is also known for very sharp seasons, winter and summer. And right after summer, we experience a typhoon season. And naturally, there are server provisioning demand that we need to predict accordingly when the typhoon grows and comes towards our path.
ファイナンスサービスもやっております。これは株価の値動きが激しいときにアクセスが増えていきます。
Financial services is another very traffic intensive site that they run as of a service. This is one that's typically difficult to predict opposed to the others.
他にも、ショッピングサービスもやっています。これはセールの日に非常にページビューが増えます。
And shopping sites also present a challenging and unique infrastructure demand which reacts to several factors, such as seasonal sales and year-end bargains.
まだまだあります。オークションサービスもやっています。
Okay, auction sites, which also introduces another new set of demands and challenges.
さらに旅行予約。
Okay. Yahoo Travel is actually one of the biggest travel reservation sites in Japan as well.
飲食店予約もやってます。
Restaurant reservation services, and as you might know, a lot of the business decisions are actually made after hours, so this is a fairly important media for them.
ゲームサービスもやってます。
And of course, gaming.
占い。
And fortune telling, surprisingly heavily trafficked site.
モバイルペイメント。
Mobile payment is also in growing very fast, and it also supports all the e-commerce services that Yahoo provides.
アルバイト探し。
Job searching sites, part-time, and next side is full-time as well.
仕事の探し。
やりました。
クラウドソーシング。
And some of the new ones, crowdsourcing. This is also an upcoming, very active service that they provide.
ドメイン。
And one of the traditional ones, domain services. This has been just ongoing for a very long time. One of the oldest ones around in Japan.
イメール。
And basic office communication services such as email and
カレンダー。
and calendar services. This is all supported way before mobile platforms actually came around.
恋愛婚活サービス。
Dating sites is also very popular. It's happened way before even Facebook came up with that idea.
映像配信。
Video streaming is also a very resource demanding service that is very active and popular too.
電子書籍。
Ebook services is also another interesting growing service as well.
もちろん検索もやってます。
And the search engine. One point that we like to make is this Yahoo Japan search is actually gathers more traffic than Google search in Japan in certain categories.
オンラインストレージとかウェブホスティング。
And corporate services such as storage services and web hosting.
辞書。
Online dictionaries, synonym, antonyms, technical terms, and a variety of language support.
知恵袋。
And Yahoo Answers is another service where you do a Q&A service, very similar to what Flickr and Quora provides.
掲示板。
Bulletin board services.
オンライン広告。
And online ad services. This is obviously a very strong part of the business. And we're going to add a little example later on.
地図。
Yahoo Japan also offers mapping services, and the complexity of subways, trains, buses, and all sorts of traffic with a complex addressing system makes it very popular.
乗り換え案内。
And part of that is the services that navigate you through an extremely complicated training system.
そんな感じでまだまだサービスあるんですけれども、100以上のサービスを提供しております。こんなにたくさんのサービスを、僕ら Yahoo Japan は提供していっています。
This is only a small portion of the 100 plus services that Yahoo Japan provides. And his role, Kawaharada's role as of a person responsible to deploy Chef as an integrated service to support all these service requests in a universal way, where our Chef cluster is used to manage these 100 plus services.
で、これだけのサーバーが動くサーバー数なんですが、5万3000台近くなっております。私たちのチームではこれら100以上のサービス5万3000台のサーバーを一つのシェフクラスターで管理しています。
So naturally, to support all these 100 plus services, we need servers. And today we manage over 53,000 services underneath a single chef cluster. And that provides all the necessary infrastructure resources for these 100 plus services on a daily basis.
今、Yahoo Japan ではコンティニュアスデリバリーにシェフを利用しています。でも、なんでシェフを使うようになったのか、今までの経緯はどんな感じだったのかというのをここでご紹介させていただきます。
So Yahoo Japan currently uses Chef for continuous delivery, continuous CD toward all these services. And we'd like to go through a couple of slides to introduce the steps they have gone through to eventually lead into a Chef integrated model.
まず Yahoo 社内では Yahoo インストーラーというものを使用してきました。これは Yahoo のコア技術となっているものです。簡単に説明すると、ディベロッパーが Yahoo インストーラーを使ってパッケージを作成します。オペレーターは Yahoo インストーラーを使ってデプロイを行います。
In the beginning, Yahoo Japan used a command line based tool called Yahoo Installer. The main role is to do configuration management, and it's still used extensively within Yahoo Japan even today. The main feature is to create a Yahoo package and to install it. One command resolves package dependencies, Apache installation, and restart and cron tab settings, just in one shot. And while this makes life extremely pleasant, it doesn't quite automate release processes completely. So for instance, sometimes you need to take down a virtual IP status of a specific server, which still, as of this point, was a manual process. So that's the next step where automation has been implemented.
それが2013年頃、ジェンキンスというものを社内に導入し始めまして、ジェンキンスが Yahoo インストーラーを使ってパッケージを作成するということになっていきます。
In 2013, the first attempt to CI was Jenkins. Once the source code is merged into GitHub, Jenkins was used Yahoo Installer to auto-generate the Yahoo package, as you see on the right. And there was heavy promotional activities within Yahoo Japan to finally implement this practice to all of Yahoo Japan's services. And eventually, developers learned how to write unit tests with better recognition on the CI/CD concept in itself. But still, as of this point, the ops team was still running things in a manual basis.
利用者、エンジニアはこんな声を出していきます。ユニットテストを書くのが非常に難しいと。テストコードも書いて、普通に動くプロダクションのコードも書いてという二重のコードを書くっていうのが非常に手間でした。ですが、今では Yahoo のエンジニアはテストを書くことに何のためらいもなく取り組んでいっています。
And while implementing CI, we've been hearing a lot from our engineers complaining how hard it is to write unit tests. And there were days when tests were done manually through Excel file-based instructions. But instead of seeing efficiencies in this method, most project managers thought this just increases the code they need to write and, of course, manage. So we did thorough encouragement and mostly enforcement of policies where test code was mandatory to run the CI tools, which eventually built a habit, or maybe we should call it a culture by now, to write test code for all the projects that are managed.
続いて CD の話になっていきます。ようやくオペレーションがファブリックを使うようになっていきます。これで、オペレーターは、紛らわしいような操作をすることなくファブデプロイというコマンドを叩くだけでデプロイが完了するという世界になっていきました。
Now it's the operation team's turn. And the ops team started using Fabric and Ansible to automate the VIP status. Playbooks to manage fab files for Fabric and playbooks for Ansible were managed through the GitHub repository. And operators automated the release process through Fabric, which saved, of course, a lot of time once what was manual work.
次のステップとして、オペレーターはファブリックを叩く部分をジェンキンスに載せます。こうすることでオペレーターはジェンキンスのビルドボタンをポチッと押すだけでビルドが完成するようになっていきます。
And further on the lower part of this screen, Fabric was launched through Jenkins. And Jenkins was now allocate SSH keys for each node and run through Fabric. An operator simply needs to push the start build button on Jenkins and then complete the acceptance test after a successful deployment.
ここまで来るとアクセプタンステストも、自動化させてオペレーターが必要なくなります。CI/CD がすべて自動化されるという世界がやってきました。
And by 2015, this acceptance test procedure was also automated, and the operator's process was fully automated. The CI/CD automation appeared to be in a complete mode, although it became apparent that having Jenkins manage SSH keys imposes a certain security risk. Jenkins is not quite known for having a robust RBAC, role-based access control. And actually, the Jenkins admin can easily log into any node it manages, so we couldn't have a centralized Jenkins service to manage all the 100 plus services within the company.
サービスごとにジェンキンスがたくさん立っていくということになっていきます。
And as for that, each service division launched and managed their own Jenkins servers, as you can see down below. And having 100 plus services, this was literally a Jenkins sprawl incident, with lack of a better word to describe it. Yahoo Japan could not have this continue to expand, so we had to put a stop to this. And this allowed us to segue into the next phase, which is the appearance of a tool called Screwdriver.
最盛期、ジェンキンスはだいたい50クラスター以上立っていたと思われます。すごくコストの無駄遣いをしていたなと反省しております。
To be more specific, there were about 50 Jenkins servers at its peak. And not only it was very cumbersome to manage them, but the cost factor was just unbearably high.
まずはスクリュードライバー導入の第一弾として CI 部分をスクリュードライバーに載せ替えました。
So as of a first step, screwdrivers are implemented to manage the CI portion, which is the upper part.
その後にスクリュードライバーでクックブックをアップロードできるようにしました。
And following that automation, we added a feature to upload chef cookbooks through Screwdriver. The FAB files were replaced with cookbooks, and this did introduce some challenges to engineers who weren't familiar with Chef. It also brought back the CD process to a little bit more on a manual procedure, even though it was just issuing Chef client commands, but it was a manual process.
ですが、シェフの使い方が全くわからないというエンジニアさんが非常に多いです。エンジニア数2300、今だと3000クックブックス、サーバー数は5万台を超えています。そんな人たちが困らないように僕らシェフチームとしては社内のカンファレンスだったりよろず相談を実施したりしています。
Now, in an organization of this scale, when you introduce Chef into the group, it starts off with zero experience, of course. And the scale that we're talking about is 2,300 engineers and an amount of about 3,000 cookbooks at that time. And of course, the infrastructure is covering more than 50,000 servers. So it was a big challenge for Yahoo Japan to bring the whole team up to a level where they can comfortably use the technologies. So a couple of attempts. One is they created a best practice documentation that educates the team on how to write cookbooks in an efficient and compatible way. They also had an ad hoc question and answer session desk, a help desk. This was a little flag that they had in their office where people will come around and ask all random questions to get their problems solved.
Please. Okay. 最後。ノードに対して SSH してシェフクライアントを叩くようにしました。これで CI/CD すべてがスクリュードライバーに乗ることになりました。これが今の Yahoo Japan で提供している状態になっています。
So by enabling Screwdriver to SSH connect to all these nodes, we architected a CI/CD platform that was consolidated and managed by Screwdriver. Although there was a couple of more complex implementations inside the SSH key management. But this is what currently Yahoo Japan is managing their CI/CD pipeline today.
この後さらに利用者からは、セキュア環境と呼ばれる環境で使いたいと要望が上がってきました。こういう要望に対しても僕らシェフチームとしては、スクリュードライバーからシェフクライアントへの通信経路に特殊な処理を施してなんとかシェフクラスターを提供するということが今できております。
There are also regulations and security issues within the corporation that require to manage a network that is isolated from both the firewall as well as the internal network, corporate networks. So what Yahoo Japan has done is that they created a dedicated Chef cluster that allows Screwdriver to specifically upload cookbooks to the secure chef cluster because it was an area that Screwdriver cannot have granted access as well.
ここまでが Yahoo Japan の CI/CD の取り組みをまとめたものでございます。
Okay. So this is a summary of the steps that the company has gone through to implement a CI/CD pipeline. In short, starting from a CI implementation and then eventually to a CD, but starting from a variety of tools and eventually consolidating that into Chef and Screwdriver.
ここで少しスクリュードライバーの紹介をさせてもらいます。Yahoo Japan では結構昔からスクリュードライバーを使っています。社内だけで、ノウハウを貯めて今メジャーバージョン4でスクリュードライバーが OSS として公開されております。
A brief introduction to Screwdriver. It's an open source CI/CD tool that Yahoo Japan and a company called Oath Incorporated has co-developed. It started as a Yahoo internal tool, but eventually it became an open source, opened up as an open source from version 4, and this goes back to year 2007. 2007年ぐらいです。Yeah. That's when it was open source and made available.
スクリュードライバーのコンセプトですが3つあります。簡単な YAML で使えること、業務フローとの統合されていること、高いカスタマイズ性という3つのコンセプトで作られております。
Three concepts for Screwdriver. A simple YAML-based pipeline configuration allowing engineers to easily learn how to use it. Integration with the operational flow, such as automating unit tests through pull requests, merging all components and then publish and deploy to the target node through a very easy definition process, a script, and very easy to customize by means of, for Yahoo Japan specifically, their original tools, proprietary tools, and of course implementing the whole infrastructure onto Yahoo Japan's bare metal platform.
これがスクリュードライバーの UI です。ビルドパイプラインが分かりやすいように可視化されています。この例ですと、右からプレディクのユニットテスト、パッケージのパブリッシュ、デブ関係のデプロイ、ステージングへのデプロイ、ステージングでアクセプタンステスト、プロダクションへのデプロイ、プロダクションへのアクセプタンステストという7つのジョブが並んでいます。
This is a typical Screwdriver's web user interface, and you can see visibly the build pipeline, and of course we see that little blue clock. That's where the current status is. And in this case, you can see 7 steps as of a pipeline. The first is the GitHub pull request and merged, and the unit tests are launched. Package to be published, deployed in the dev environment, deployed in the staging environment, acceptance tests for the staging environment, and deployed in the production environment, and at the end, the production acceptance test. Currently, it's in the staging acceptance test stage, and when it fails there, it will stop and will not go further on.
スクリュードライバーでパイプラインを作るのは非常に簡単で、このたった7行のスクリュードライバー YAML を書くだけでパイプラインを作ることができます。
And the value is definitely in the ease of writing these pipelines. This example shows a 7-line YAML step where the job is to unit test the node.jp code and then publish it with a simple 7 lines.
続いて話をシェフに戻していきます。Yahoo Japan は構成管理の需要が非常に大きかったので、全社でシェフを利用していくことになりました。導入するにあたってのいろいろやってきたことをここで紹介させていただきます。
And going back to the chef story, an integrated configuration management methodology was the driving force to bring chef to the main stage. Obviously, there has been pros and a couple of cons that we would like to describe in the later slides.
まずはセキュリティの壁が立ちはだかりました。導入当時、スクリュードライバーとシェフは連携して使うということだけは決まっていました。その上で、どうやったら不正利用を防ぐことができるかということを、セキュリティチームとスクリュードライバーチーム合わせて、非常に仕様を決めるのを難航しました。
First and foremost, Chef Server needed to satisfy the high security requirements within the corporate guidelines. And while it was already decided to integrate Chef with Screwdriver, how to protect the SSH keys, as we've seen in past slides, that was a very important part to resolve. And there was a lot of discussion between the Chef team and the security implementation team to finally coming out with an architecture that would satisfy the requirements.
シェフクラスターをようやく作ろうかという段階になったんですけども、我々の技術力不足でこの構築自体が非常に難航しました。
The lack of chef skills was also another hurdle to overcome. And as the company was still new to chef, creating cookbooks, for instance, was a steep learning curve. Learning Chef was a great resource. Learn Chef was a great learning resource. But as of Yahoo Japan is a Japanese company, language localization was an important part. They actually went to a number of chef essential training sessions to bring the level up.
まずはじめにようやくティアード構成が構築することができました。今は HA 構成が主流なんですけれども、当時これしかなかったので仕方なくティアードにしたという経緯でございます。
And currently, well, they started off with a tier structure as we see. It's a very simplified model where the back-end database is singular. At this time, HA was not available as a feature, so this was as far as they could go.
もちろんティアード構成はバックエンドサーバーが1台しかないという非常にリスクの高いものでした。データベースバックアップを毎日取ることで何とか運用していたんですが、僕らはこのバックエンドサーバーを複数にしたいという思いがずっとありました。
And naturally, the issue here was there's only one back-end server. And when an issue happens, everything goes down. So what they've been trying to do as in the meantime was to provide a backup on a daily basis until the day finally came where an HA feature was introduced, which they jumped on right away.
HA がリリースされたので、僕らはすぐに HA をリリースして、利用者にティアード構成から HA にクックブックを移すように依頼しました。
So this is the new or current tiered architecture with redundant database servers. So any failure that would happen on the back-end database on the leader, which is in the middle, will be quickly successed by a voted follower, either from the left or right.
問題はまだあって、DRBD がすごい不安定で、とても困ってしまったということがここで起きました。バックエンドクラスター神だと思っています。
But still, the DRBD instability was an issue at this time. So there was a lot of attention that was put into the database management in this early stage of cluster management.
でやっぱり、利用者はティアード構成から HA サーバーに乗り換えるのはとても嫌だと、面倒くさいと言い続けています。
And going down to the service teams for each of these 100 services, there were a lot of teams that were hesitant to migrate to this tier structure, primarily because of the database issues, as well as moving the data onto a distributed model, a redundant model. In another way, they were very comfortable in what was working today. And that's a typical pattern that we see, not necessarily limited to Chef, but that was an issue that they had to go through.
でシェフをすごく使ってくれているエンジニアも結構います。そういう人たちは使い方が難しいってよく問い合わせをしてくれたりするんですけれども、僕らはマニュアルを作ったりとか、何でも相談をしたり、社内のカンファレンスを実施したり、チャットで質問に答えたりということで、そういうやる気のあるエンジニアのサポートを毎日しています。
So proactive encouragement was a very important key to move people to the new culture or structure and encourage chef use more heavily. There were a lot of users having difficulty in learning chef, so that was part of the solutions that they have done, as I explained before. And user manual updates was very frequently done, localized, frequent meeting with each of the teams, and a lot of conferences, all, of course, in Japanese.
ユーザーサポートだったり、シェフに関する全般的なサポートだったり、シェフ社との直接のやり取りにおいてクリエーションラインさんに非常にお世話になっております。いつもありがとうございます。
And the great value from Chef was there was a lot of support in ramping up, especially to this scale, not only from the US team, but the Australian team as well, since they are very close in time zone, even though there's some distance there. But they often came to Japan and helped Yahoo Japan out at a great degree. Also, Chef teams with Creation Line, which is the company that I represent, and we are a Japanese professional service company that's been handling Chef for quite a number of years. And we also participated in this ramping up process as well.
実際に Yahoo Japan でシェフがどんな使われ方をしているのかというのをここでご紹介させていただきます。
Next, we would like to go to a couple of charts that actually show how Chef is used today within Yahoo Japan.
時間ごとのシェフクライアントの実行数をここでグラフに表したものです。1日あたりだいたい2万3000回ほど叩かれています。
This is a chart that shows a typical day at Yahoo Japan, counting the number of chef client commands launched per hour. It's a total of 23,000 chef client commands in a day. As you can see, there's a peak around 2 to 4 p.m., just right about lunchtime, when they can launch these commands and possibly or probably follow up and resolve any issues that happen within their working day times. We can also see some people start doing their work at 10 p.m. For reasons it's sometimes hard to figure out, but there are some night flies in Japan as well.
サーバーの登録台数がこのような推移になっておりまして、最初20台ぐらい少なかったんですけれども、今5万3000台を非常に大きく超えていっています。
This chart shows the history of server nodes growth at Yahoo Japan, starting off from 20, as I explained today, 53,000 plus. There's an indication where corporate policy changes. A lot of promotional activities created a little steep growth. So while gradually growing, there was a lot of need for this encouragement that helped ramp the use case upwards.
一つどんなところで使っているかという紹介をします。皆さんウェブサイトを見ているとよく見ると思うこういう広告なんですけれども、これどれだけのサーバー使っているか想像つきますでしょうか。
We would like to introduce one example service that uses Chef quite heavily. I'm sure you're familiar with the sometimes irritating but strangely personalized web advertisement, as you see in that little banner over there. One of Yahoo Japan's services is online ad services, and they use Chef efficiently to optimize their infrastructure.
このサービスでは2000台この配信サーバーに使っているとのことです。以前はファブリックを使っていたんですが、今はシェフにすべて移行することが完了しています。デプロイは100台ずつ、順番に行っていて、デプロイにかかる時間は満足しているとのことです。
Today, this ad service uses 2,000 servers, more than 2,000 servers to operate its online ad placing services. The ops teams for this service used to use Fabric in the past for deployment, but currently moved completely over to Chef because of the automation. And in addition to that, they deploy 100 servers at a time, 100 servers as of a chunk at a time concurrently, which costs very little time and issues. That actually has been the value proposition to quickly move to Chef. It's a growing business, and they have plans to actually double this size to 4,000 nodes in a very near future.
シェフを導入することによって安心感が得られたというのと効率化につながりましたという声をもらっています。安心感というのはサーバーを壊したとしてもすぐに元に戻せることでありますと。効率化っていうのだと、非常によくできたチームだと、1ヶ月間に300リリース、イシュー集に対して25分で対応を完了しているとの話を聞いております。
The benefits of bringing in Chef into the Chef infrastructure, Yahoo Japan infrastructure was significant and very straightforward. First, the ease of mind, being able to automate most of the work is very significant. Configuration data is managed all at GitHub. The quality of code reviews is high through historic data. And system failures, all ops need to do is run Chef client to recover. It's just simply a very simple process. The other benefit was efficiency, especially in speeding up the process at all angles. One service, for example, which requires 300 new releases per month. That's a quite frequent CD rate. But in case the deployment only takes 25 minutes, which is significantly faster from, of course, the good old manual days.
逆にあんまり良くないなっていう部分もあって、非常にクックブックを作るのが難しいと。昔クックブックを何とか作ったという人がいて、それを引き継いで今運用しているんですが、もうそのクックブックは触れないと、どうにかしてくださいとシェフチームによく問い合わせが来たりします。また、シェフクライアントを、1年ごとに更新しなきゃいけなかったりっていう、運用フローがあって、そのコストが非常に大きくなっているという問題が起きています。この件に関してクリエーションオンラインさんとも共同で、もっと簡単にできるように何とか取り組んでいこうかと思っております。
There are two issues that Yahoo Japan continuously face on a daily basis. One is the experience to write good cookbooks, especially having 3,000 to start off with. There are a good number of cookbooks that are already, well, I wouldn't say obsolete, but the original author sometimes are not found anymore within the company. So trying to find out how it works, how to enhance it, becomes a challenge. And that's what Kawaharada's, Kenta's team actually focuses on a lot. Another one is the operational cost overall. Specifically, version upgrade that happens once a year imposes quite a lot of work. And again, having 53,000 servers plus, it is quite a move from even a small revision upgrade.
ネクストステップとして Yahoo Japan では4つ、期待しているものがあります。まず学習コストの低減です。日本語化をして、ランシェフとか日本語化をしてほしいなと思っています。また UI 使う時にも、学習がどうしても必要になっているのでもっと直感的に使える UI にしてほしいなということがあります。あとはバックエンドサーバーの BCP 対応、ディザスターリカバリーのために1000キロ以上離れたデータセンターで同居したいというのもあって、これも要望を出しています。あとは社内の他の API とうまくつながるような仕組みにしてほしいなというものがあります。
There are 4 points that Yahoo Japan wants to take the opportunity today to present as, say, requirement requests or wish to have features. One is to improve the learning cost. Localization is, of course, one thing, but the tutorials and having a more feature-rich, information-rich set of training material always will be a big help. UI improvement is also part of that. The information visible from the UI can be improved by showing a little bit more detail than it has today. And I think the Chef Automate 2 does actually add some features there. Deploy count, failure details, those are the things that would be very helpful if you can see it in a glance. Number 3, BCP, business continuity planning. It's been a keyword for quite a while. But Yahoo Japan, as a company running mission-critical applications, they have a main data center in Tokyo and a co-location site in Kyushu, which is about 700 miles away. They would like to have the chef server management done where you can be a switch, hot standby of the backend server in Kyushu to recover whenever maybe a major earthquake that's just about to happen in Tokyo, actually. When that happens, being able to continue the servers, reset up all the servers, and then have all the services be implemented again. And lastly, stronger integration with other platforms. There are still a lot of Yahoo Japan proprietary services, which Yahoo Japan would also like to integrate with Chef as well and fully automate it.
将来の展望としまして、ビッグデータのためにサーバーがたくさん必要になってくるはずなので、もっと簡単にもっと効率よくシェフを使えるようになっていきたいと思っています。あとは AI 基盤として多様性の高いソリューションの提供が必要になってくるはずですので、量子コンピューターなどが出た時には今と全く違うプロビジョニングが必要になってくるはずです。その時にシェフをうまく活用していきたいと考えています。こういう取り組みに対してシェフ社と Yahoo Japan と共同で何かやっていけたらいいかなと思っております。
There are 2 future directions that Yahoo Japan is becoming very aware of. They anticipate additional servers to be deployed to support the data analytics demand that is coming from the IoT world and many others. Obviously, Chef would be in a role to, of course, manage those increasing number of servers. In addition, Yahoo Japan is starting to face demand for AI infrastructures. This not only requires more resources, but it also requires different sets of processing needs. Quantum computing is one example. Need to allocate new and different provisioning models for these new types of resources. Those are the things that Yahoo Japan is very interested in working together with Chef and hopefully Creation Line to support for future demand and have a very healthy and steady growth together with Chef. That'll be all for today.
Thank
and
you.
I hope we made it in time. Thank you
so much.